Part 37, What Happens After Death. Listen to a part of the sayings from Spiritual Energies with the topic, What Happens After Death, by Lubisha Stoyanovich, who transferred the sayings received in deep meditation to the books, The Culture of Energy Living, and Healing. Between philosophy, reincarnation and sacred knowledge, there are two very important differences. According to reincarnation, the consciousness of a deceased person returns to a new human embryo. According to sacred knowledge, consciousness after death goes to the cosmos, where it lives for a very long time and never returns to Earth. At the same time, a perfect copy of our consciousness is located in the luminous body of that person. Leaving the body after death, the consciousness consists of white bioenergy that was an integral part of that person's aura and represents an intelligent energy being. Our life, therefore, continues after death in two forms. 1. As a consciousness that has nothing to do with our previous lives, except for the last one, nor will it have anything to do with our next lives or luminous body in the future. In principle, it can live for a very long time, up to 30,000 years, if it avoids various dangers that can damage it or even destroy it completely, especially on the way to the cosmic sanctuary. 2. In our luminous body, which contains all the information about the previous lives, even about this last one, down to the smallest details. The luminous body takes over the new human embryo within 49 days. The young consciousness arises and develops simultaneously with the new body, taking over white bioenergy from the remains of the auras of extinct microorganisms and other plants and animals from the surrounding area. The Truth About the Afterlife, narration from the book Healing, 1995. During the development of human society, people who have reached a high paranormal level have come, on several occasions, from the knowledge, what awaits a person after death. It happened for the first time 14,000 years ago, when a thinker, after becoming enlightened, managed to realize the real truth. The record that he left was copied by his followers during the next 3,000 to 4,000 years. But, as the writing of that time was quite imprecise, in the form of drawings that could be interpreted differently, the text gradually deviated more and more from the original. Thus, the texts, which existed about 10,000 years ago, deviated considerably from the original and had many incorrect and wrong places. About 7,000 years ago, two people, almost simultaneously, one in Tibet and the other on the east coast of Mexico, also came to the real truth about life after death. The flood that occurred about 300 years after them, covered almost the entire surface of the Earth's globe, destroyed a part of the manuscripts from Tibet, which during the next 1,500 years led to arbitrary interpretations of the missing parts, so that the texts are 5,000 years old. These texts spread throughout Tibet, China, Indochina, and Mesopotamia over the next few thousand years and represent the base of today's knowledge in that area. They were both enlightened, but the one from Mexico was illiterate, because literacy did not exist at that time, in that part of the world. His knowledge was properly transmitted orally for about 500 to 1,000 years, and then the texts began to be gradually distorted, so that among the people of Central and South America, completely deformed texts appeared that interpreted this phenomenon in a completely arbitrary way. To this day, the texts that have their origins in Tibet have been preserved, and they are the only, at least in fragments, that are as correct as the original texts. The problem is that, for the reasons mentioned, some phenomena are confused in them, so that their interpretation is largely incorrect. The basic deviation consists in the delusion that the soul of the deceased returns to the next born person. The chapter on the role of the luminous body was destroyed during the flood, so the followers thought from its fragmentary appearances in other chapters that it was about the soul. Many theories about reincarnation have been developed on that mistake, none of which are correct. The Treasury of Sacred Knowledge is grateful for your interest and sends you a lot of spiritual patience and love.